Okay, compliance is very important for a number of reasons, not the least of which is we want to make sure we're doing what's right for the business, keeping things secure, keeping our secrets secret, and so forth, right? But there's a second component to that, or a second kind of prong, if you will. The security risks are one thing, all right, breaches, etc. But we also have legal and financial risks for noncompliance as well, because depending on the nature of the breach, depending upon the nature of the data that we're giving out, if it's HIPAA compliance for the health industry, health insurance industry, if we're giving out personal data about someone's medical conditions or so forth, or if it's PCI compliance and we're storing customers' credit card information unencrypted, et cetera, okay, depending upon the type of data, there can be severe financial and judicial kind of consequences, if you will, for these actions. It could be massive fines up in the upwards of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of dollars. And then we could also be facing jail time for violating certain types of compliance standards. So it's very important that we, as stewards of the company, make sure that we are in compliance at all times. Again, we have our nameless, faceless auditor comes in. They bring their team of forensic accountants and so forth, and they give us an audit. It's very, very time consuming. It's also very grueling, and it can be stressful. But if we maintain, best practices from the beginning, then it's a lot less to worry about, and it's a much easier process. All right. So compliance laws cover many areas, as I mentioned, including financial, healthcare, and so on and so forth. All right. So a couple that you may be familiar with, one of which is Sarbanes-Oxley. Okay, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or SOX, and that deals with accounting reform and investor protection. All right. So that applies to public companies. And again, if you are in fact a public company, it's very, very important to maintain compliance because, again, very large fines and jail time for non-compliance depending upon the severity of the breach. Okay, next we have HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. And again, it's very important that we not give out or make available patient information. It's extremely confidential information, and if that stuff gets leaked out or is not maintained properly, again, there are consequences for non-compliance. And then we have the Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act from 1999, or the GLBA, and this deals with how private information is disclosed from financial institutions. So again, these are just some of a number of different areas that we need to make sure that we're in compliance depending upon the type of company. And I urge you, if you're not already very familiar with whatever applies to your specific organization, that you become familiar with it and that you make sure that compliance is on the top of your list. Because not only does it save you from unnecessary security risks and security breaches, it also protects the company financially in the event of an audit or obviously in the event of a breach. So as I mentioned, the lack of compliance can result in not only in fines and imprisonment. Okay, that's one thing, that's obviously a big thing, but also, even more importantly for the company long term, could be a loss of position, a loss of standing in the company. Whether if it's a publicly traded company, it could even have that position removed or revoked or suspended. Investor and customer confidence, boom, goes through the floor. Okay, that's not good, right? So loss of position, loss of investor and customer confidence. Once that happens, right, that's basically the sign of an impending doom. You start to circle the drain at that point, so to speak, because if you lose your customers, there really is no business. Right? It doesn't really depend upon what type of business you're in. If you have no customers, there is no business. So it's very important that we maintain compliance across the board.